It was a brisk autumn morning at Maplewood High School, the sun peeking through the golden leaves that danced in the breeze. Students were bustling through the hallways, chatting animatedly about their weekend plans and the upcoming football game. Yet, amidst the clatter, there was an unexpected sound, a soft whimpering coming from the bushes near the entrance. A curious student named Mia paused, her heart fluttering with concern. She made her way to the source of the sound and discovered a small, scruffy puppy, trembling and dirty, nestled against the cool earth. The puppy looked up at her with big, pleading eyes, and Mia felt an instant connection. She knelt down, extending her hand gently, but the puppy cowered, unsure of this new presence. "Mia, what are you doing?" called out her friend Jake, rushing over. "Don't get too close to that thing. It's probably sick." "I can't just leave it here, Jake," Mia replied, her voice firm. "It needs our help." After a brief discussion, Mia and Jake decided they would take the puppy to the school nurse. Maybe she could help care for it until they could find its owner. Carefully, they wrapped the shivering creature in Mia's jacket and hurried through the hallways, trying to avoid the watchful eyes of their teachers. However, as they made their way to the nurse's office, they crossed paths with Mr. Thompson, the stern and no-nonsense science teacher known for his strict rules and zero tolerance for distractions in the classroom. "What is that?" Mr. Thompson barked, fixing his steely gaze on the puppy in Mia's arms. "It's just a lost pup, sir. We were going to take it to the nurse," Mia said, hoping to make her case. "Put it down now. Animals don't belong in school. You two are only going to bring germs and chaos," Mr. Thompson snapped, his voice echoing in the hallway. "Take it outside. It doesn't belong here." Mia's heart sank. "But it's cold and scared." "Enough! Get rid of it or face detention," he threatened, turning sharply and walking away, leaving Mia and Jake stunned. Feeling defeated, Mia placed the puppy on the ground, her heart aching as it whimpered again. "We can't just leave it," she said. "I know," Jake replied quietly, looking around to ensure no teachers were watching. "Let's take it to my house. My parents won't mind if we keep it for a few days while we look for an owner." Mia nodded, her resolve strengthening. They quickly snuck out of the school grounds, the puppy following closely behind, seemingly sensing that these two teenagers were its only hope. Once they arrived at Jake's house, they made a cozy corner in his garage, lining it with old blankets and giving the puppy some water and food. They named him Rusty for his rusty-colored fur and began to bond over their shared love for their new furry friend. As they spent their time together, they learned about Rusty's quirks. He loved to chase after leaves, bark at the squirrels in the yard, and curl up in their laps during movie time. Mia and Jake's hearts filled with joy as they watched Rusty become more comfortable, his initial fear slowly disappearing with each passing hour. What Mia and Jake didn't know was that Rusty wasn't just any stray puppy. He belonged to the school's beloved principal, Mrs. Thompson, Mr. Thompson's wife. Mrs. Thompson always walked Rusty around the school grounds at the end of the day, often sharing stories with students about how she found him abandoned and had rescued him. She had planned to bring Rusty to school that very day for a special visit during lunchtime to cheer up the students and lift their spirits. Meanwhile, back at school, Mrs. Thompson returned from a meeting and immediately noticed Rusty was missing. "Where's Rusty?" she asked, her voice laced with concern. Mr. Thompson shrugged, brushing off her worries. "He's probably fine. Dogs are just chaotic creatures. They don't belong in school anyway," he replied dismissively. Mrs. Thompson frowned, uneasy. "I'll check the school grounds." As Mrs. Thompson searched the school, she asked a few students if they had seen her puppy. Most shrugged, too busy with their own conversations to pay attention. One girl, however, remembered seeing Mia and Jake earlier with a small dog. Later that day, Mia and Jake were in Jake's backyard, laughing and playing with Rusty, when they noticed a woman walking down the street towards them. She had kind eyes and a warm smile that made Mia's heart race with familiarity. It was Mrs. Thompson. "Rusty!" she exclaimed, her face lighting up with joy. The puppy perked up, bounding toward her as if he had found a long-lost friend. Mia and Jake watched in astonishment as the puppy jumped into Mrs. Thompson's arms, licking her face enthusiastically. "Where did you find him?" she asked, turning to the two teens, her expression shifting from joy to confusion. "We found him outside school," Mia explained, a hint of nervousness in her voice. "He was scared and cold, so we took him home." Mrs. Thompson's smile faded as she realized what had happened. "You took him from school? My husband didn't let you keep him, did he?" "Actually, he told us to get rid of him," Jake added cautiously, glancing at Mia. I see," Mrs. Thompson said thoughtfully, a spark of anger flickering in her eyes. "He can be a bit hard-headed when it comes to rules, but he loves Rusty just as much as I do." After a moment, she added, "How about this? Why don't the three of us go back to school? You can help me bring Rusty around, and we'll see if he can brighten up the students' day." Jake's eyes lit up. "That'd be amazing. Rusty will love it." Mia nodded enthusiastically, her heart racing at the thought of bringing joy to her classmates. Back at Maplewood High, the hallways were buzzing with energy as the students filed into the cafeteria for lunch. Noticing the commotion, Mia and Jake pushed the door open, Mrs. Thompson leading the way, Rusty trotting happily beside her. As soon as the students saw the puppy, an eruption of excitement filled the room. "Rusty!" they cheered, rushing over to greet him. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Laughter replaced worries, and for a moment, the stresses of school life faded away. Mrs. Thompson beamed with pride. "See how something as simple as a puppy can bring everyone together?" she asked Mia and Jake. Rusty was the star of the show, receiving cuddles and treats from students. Mia and Jake smiled, their earlier stress forgotten, as they watched their peers light up with joy. One student, Clara, who had been having a rough day, knelt down to pet Rusty. "He's so soft," she exclaimed, her frown turning into a smile. "I love puppies." Rusty wagged his tail, seeming to sense the waves of happiness surrounding him. Mrs. Thompson moved around the room, encouraging students to share their own stories of rescue animals, fostering a sense of community and compassion among the students. It was a heartwarming sight. After the excitement settled, Mr. Thompson walked into the cafeteria, his stern face softening as he took in the scene. Rusty, surrounded by students, had created an inexplicable warmth in the air. Mrs. Thompson approached her husband, arms crossed, and gently told him, "It seems some rules might need reconsideration." Mr. Thompson sighed, his expression shifting from annoyance to acceptance as he realized the impact Rusty had on everyone. "Fine. I suppose a little chaos can be a good thing sometimes," he admitted. Mia and Jake exchanged glances, their hearts swelling with happiness. They had not only helped a puppy, but had also unintentionally changed the atmosphere of the school for the better. As the weeks went on, Rusty became a beloved fixture at Maplewood High. Students would rush to the fence every recess to watch him gallop around the backyard during puppy days. Teachers learned to adjust their plans as laughter erupted from the yard, where Rusty played with students. Meanwhile, Mia and Jake took on the responsibility of caring for Rusty when Mrs. Thompson had meetings or was busy. They ensured he had all the love and attention he deserved. One afternoon, as they sat with Rusty in the park behind the school, Mia had an idea. "What if we start a club, like a Pets and Compassion Club? We could help other animals in need, just like we helped Rusty." Jake grinned, already excited about the possibility. "That sounds awesome. We could raise awareness about adoption and even organize fundraisers for local shelters." With renewed energy, they pitched their idea to Mrs. Thompson, who was thrilled. "In fact," she said, "we can announce it at the next school assembly. Rusty can be our mascot." The next week, the entire school gathered in the gymnasium, buzzing with curiosity. Mia and Jake took the stage, Rusty in Mia's arms, his tail wagging furiously as he soaked in the attention. "Thank you all for coming," Mia began. "We want to introduce a new club called Pets and Compassion. Our goal is to help animals in need, just like we helped Rusty. We believe that showing kindness to animals can bring us all closer together." The room erupted in applause. Jake added, We'll hold events, raise funds for shelters, and even foster pets until they find homes. We want you all to be a part of this." Rusty barked as if in agreement, and the students laughed, their excitement palpable. As Mia and Jake shared their vision, they felt a sense of purpose, knowing they could make a difference. The Pets and Compassion Club took off. Students joined in droves, bringing energy and enthusiasm to the initiative. They held bake sales to raise funds for local shelters, set up donation drives for pet food and supplies, and organized trips to animal rescues to volunteer. Each event brought students and teachers closer together. Even Mr. Thompson, who had initially frowned upon the chaos Rusty created, found himself softening as he witnessed the profound effect the club had on the school community. During one of their events, he even helped set up a pet adoption day in the school gym. Local shelters brought in animals looking for homes, and students flocked to play with the dogs and cats, their laughter filling the air. To everyone's surprise, Mr. Thompson found himself bonding with a rambunctious little beagle named Benny. "I never thought I'd see the day," Mrs. Thompson said, watching her husband kneel to pet the beagle, grinning from ear to ear. Months passed, and the school became a hub of compassion and joy, largely due to Rusty's initial arrival and the formation of the club. Mia and Jake reflected on how their small act of kindness had transformed not only one little puppy's life, but the entire school's atmosphere. At the end of the year, the principal organized a special assembly to celebrate the impact of the Pets and Compassion Club. Mia and Jake were invited to speak about their experiences. "Rusty taught us that kindness knows no boundaries," Mia began, "and that even a small act, like rescuing a stray puppy, can spark a movement. Together we can all make a difference." Jake added, "Let's continue to show compassion to all creatures, great and small. Together, we can create a brighter future." As the assembly concluded, everyone in the gymnasium erupted into applause, cheers echoing around them. Rusty sat proudly by their side, the true star of the show. Through laughter, teamwork, and the innocent spirit of a little puppy, Maplewood High had become a community united by love, compassion, and the belief that every creature deserves a chance.